Bobby has such a lengthy and illustrious introduction that I do need to read it to be accurate. Bobby is an award-winning developer, executives, business professionals, and students. Bobby has run team-building activities, presented keynotes, and coached thousands of people across Canada. His major clients include Who's Who of Canada, TD Canada Trust, McMaster, Ryerson, York University, Canadian Tire and Craft, and his background in brand marketing, engineering, and performing arts is quite a combination. He draws on his diverse background and 20 years of experience to lead the company that's called Ryalon. Okay. This is a transformational training and speaking company. Bobby has served as program manager and faculty for University's Share Valley Summer Program for gifted high school youth. He has also worked in brand marketing for companies such as Kraft in cheese marketing, Unilever for Dove, Master Brands campaign for Real Beauty, supporting organizations across Canada that foster positive self-esteem in young women. Bobby, while working at Bombardier as an aerospace design engineer, founded and ran a musical theater company. And Mark Thespian Society, where he supervised a team of over 100 people. He still works as a comedian or comic actor. He, having trained through Second City in performing with Fade to Brown in their sketch comedy TV pilot that aired on Omni Television. Bobby, and this is the one that really you can get on the web these days, and it's a pretty good one. He spoke at TEDx and is currently an instructor for D Group's executive education campaign. Without further ado, may I invite Bobby? Please help me welcome Bobby.
I'm going to stand up here. Can everyone hear me? Yeah, I'm pretty loud. So thank you very much, and I appreciate the invitation to come here to talk to you guys. We don't have very much time, so I'm going to get right into it. So what we're going to do today is I'm going to talk about a bit about networking, talk about a few strategies across different areas of networking. But the most important is I'm actually going to get you to stand up and do some networking. So we're going to practice a couple of activities. They're not actually specifically networking specific, they're actually skill specific that will help you with your networking in the future. And then I'm going to end off a little bit of the discussion on personal branding, and then we'll have Q&A. Q&A is going to be at the end of the session anyway, so we don't have too many questions now. We can have the questions later. So as he mentioned, yes, I have a very diverse career. I've done performing arts, I've done engineering, I've done brand marketing. I also work with Shad Valley, and also internally I'm an entrepreneur. And so that diversity of experience has been a really wonderful thing. But the main thing is that it's been very diverse, and most of it has been through networking. So currently now for my business, 80% of what I get in terms of business and in terms of my clients is through referrals and networking. Everything I do is networking. So that's why I love talking about it. So let's get to the basic stuff. Why do we network? And the obvious reasons are, you uncover new opportunities, you get better interviews. There's a lot of different ways to connect with people, and you enhance your credibility or your personal brand. And generally speaking, networking is under less competitive circumstances, which means that there's less pressure. It's much more harder for someone to go into a meeting where there's an actual interview, and there's always pressure for you to deal with it. And networking is also a great way to get valuable information. And with networking, you have nothing to lose and everything to gain. So therefore, you should be doing networking. Now, there was a famous man who once said, the only certainties in life are death and taxes. Let me give you two more certainties in life. Number one, you have to deal with people for the rest of your life. Number two, you're going to have to deliver presentations, whether it's in an interview or selling your project or talking to your manager and your performance review. You have to deal with this stuff. So therefore, you might as well learn to do networking now. Studies have also shown that networking actually has a higher probability of using connections has a higher probability of paying off. You get information meetings that are easier to obtain, they're more relaxed. And here's the really more important thing. less people use this approach. In fact, the golden rule 80-20, 80-20 is that 80% of jobs are found through networking, 20% are not. Yet, 20% of people use networking and 80% do not. So if 20% of people are doing networking to get 80% of the jobs, what should you be doing? Networking, right? Hopefully I've convinced you. 80-20 rule. So where do you want to spend your time? Now if you look at networking, information meetings versus job interviews, an information meeting is much easier to obtain, and you get to ask the questions. Also, an information meeting is on your terms when you review capabilities. Possibly for referrals, excellent. Because again, no pressure, and those people usually are there to help you. Now let me ask this to the audience. What is networking not? This is the interactive portion. So, what's that? It's not selling. What else? Someone other than the speakers.
It's not only taking.
It's not only taking. Okay, good. Yeah.
It's not about yourself.
It's not about yourself. Anyone else? One more? All right. So it's not asking for a job. Now, as soon as you say job, also this wall goes up. Oh my God. Okay. The chance usually for a job is very slim anyways. And even people that you know, if you start asking for a job right away, they start to shy away. And you want to avoid that. And as the other person just said, it's not take. You're like, oh, hi, Mr. Umar, nice to meet you. Okay, can I have your resume and can I see your card and can I talk to your mom? Like, whoa, slow down. Whoa, talk to my mother. Or can I meet with you once a week for breakfast for 3 hours a day? Like, no, you can't take all the time. In fact, my personal philosophy of networking is I give. I give without expectation. That's all I do. And if it comes around, great. If there's an opportunity for me where I need something, I'll always ask. But generally speaking, I will just give. My question is, how can I help you? And if you do that, it's the beginning to a deeper and more genuine connection with somebody. Now, first thing we do is we develop a contact list if we want to start networking. So, who's in our contact list? Who would that be? Any idea?
Friends and family.
Friends and family, okay. Clients? Anyone else?
Colleagues.
Colleagues, buddies, everybody! Teachers, travelers, politicians, bankers, consultants, neighbors, business owners, schoolmates, former employees, family friends. In fact, every single person you come in contact with is a connection because every person is a bridge to someone else. You have no idea that that cashier in the metro, or I guess we're right about the Longos, right? The cashier at the Longos has an uncle who works for that company you're dying to get into. Right? We have no idea. Now, setting up information meetings is always a challenge. You could phone them, you can email, you could letter, you could send a fax. What do you think is the best way? The best way is to call, ideally in person, like an event like this. But call them, right? I'm sure. There you go. Okay, good stuff. All right. and then the other thing is that following up is key. It's incredible that people do not follow up. And there are potential referrals everywhere. And if you don't follow up, you make networking useless. Okay? There's no point in networking if you don't know to follow up with people. Networking is useless without the follow-up. It's like buying ingredients for a great recipe, but then not baking it. So you have to follow up with people. That's the expectation. Now I'm going to break it down into information meeting, networking event, and online social networking in terms of what the strategies are on. And remember, you can still network anytime with anybody. So information meetings, again, figure out what you need to know, you want to build a rapport, but there's a lot of different things. You want to ask a lot of questions, you want to take our time. But the most important thing I want to emphasize here, you need to be grateful for their time. Because whether they're giving you 10 minutes, or 5 minutes, or 20 minutes, if you appreciate their time, you'll more likely double the time they give you. I don't think I've ever been to a 15-minute breakfast meeting that hasn't gone less than half an hour. Because you just have to get in there and start talking to them. And usually when they're away from the office, they're much more giving and more willing to help out. Now, when it comes to information meetings, you should know what your elevator pitch is. Hopefully, anyone here know what their elevator pitch is? Show of hands. You have one? All right. Oh, that's good. Okay, good. Develop your top 3 questions to ask. And try to think of questions that are a little bit more penetrating, that go beneath the surface, that allow you for a more deeper and authentic connection with people. Tell me about your passions. Tell me about where you see yourself today and where you want to go in 10 years. What drives you every day? What motivates you? That goes beyond the surface level type questions that people have. Think about your personal brand, because your personal brand, I'm going to talk a bit more about that, but the personal brand basically is talking about who you are and what you promise to give to people. And then research the person online. Now don't Facebook stalk them, okay? But do some research, find out on LinkedIn what they're doing, their website, and find out more about them. And again, prepare before you meet anybody. And again, you've got to want it. One of the biggest keys of networking is you have to want to do this stuff. You have to want to follow. You have to want to make the connections. And when you go to networking events, again, a lot of tips there. You have to join organizations, practice everywhere, take notes, ask only one thing at a time, keep files, follow the leads. But again, you want to maximize the opportunity. Today is a networking event, so let's maximize the opportunity. And what I want to get into now is, the thing that I pride myself when I talk about networking is, yes, there are strategies, but there's also tactics. And what I'm going to teach you right now, I'm going to talk about tactics. That's something most people don't talk about. So, how do you approach a conversation? Anyone have like a golden nugget that they use that works every time? Anyone have anything they do? Well, the best way to enter a conversation, if it's going on, you're trying to get in there, is, there are verbal clues, like, there's a smile, how are you, there's the nod, eye contact, right? That's nice. But really the best way, honestly, your power words. Your power words are, and there's 4 or power phrases. The first one is, hi, right? Hi, I'm Bob Umar. Hi, how are you? Hello. That's one. And then the other ones are, pardon me, excuse me, sorry to interrupt. Okay? There's a group of people. In fact, the larger the group it is, the more likely to use that. Because sometimes people are so huddled close together. How do you get in there? You say, excuse me, sorry to interrupt. Hi, my name is Bob Umar. Nice to meet you. Just want to end the conversation. Continue with the conversation, please. Or you say, hi, my name is Bob Umar, and then you start the conversation yourself. But use your power words. Hi is one. Excuse me, pardon me, sorry to interrupt. What do you think is going to happen? That's going to happen. It's okay. And if they do that, well, you may want to run. That's fine. They're not going to be doing network. So, and then introductions. Keep them short, right? Especially if there's a conversation going on. Now, you don't want to interrupt a conversation right in the middle of something. Most conversations have a beat, which we're going to talk about. You don't want to interrupt someone. What you want to do is you want to enter in when there's like that slight pause and you come in. And when you introduce yourself, be very, very brief. Now, the art of conversation, you have to go with the flow. You don't want to go against it. If someone is talking about this wonderful thing, you can't go into that, I disagree with that completely. And then there's this awkward pause. Like that's a little bit, that's called a block. You don't want to block people off. You want to go with the flow. Every conversation has beats. Now, a beat is a phrase that ends with a beat. So, one of my favorite things to do is to go swimming. Beat. Oh, I love swimming too. I used to go swimming in the Indian Ocean. Beat. Oh, really? Indian Ocean? Yes, I've traveled over to India just last Christmas. Beat. So, what you want to do is you want to come in on those beats. You don't want to interrupt the beat. So, if all of a sudden I'm talking to him, he's like, the most important thing to me is, hi, I'm Bob Umar, nice to meet you. He was just about to say the most important thing to him, and I screwed up his beat. So go with that. Go with the beat. The conversation is not about you. You want to make sure that everyone gets their say. And ask the right questions. Don't start getting personal about politics or religion and their mothers. That's inappropriate stuff. Ask the right questions. A perfect example of a great question is why do you feel that way, or what makes you bring that up? I think it's a really interesting point. Can you expand further? Or tell me more about that, because I think that's really fascinating. Get people to dive into the conversation a little bit more. And then you want to seal the deal. You want to first off determine a follow-up. Don't just leave without having a follow-up. Yes, let's connect on LinkedIn. Yes, let's exchange business cards. You know what? I'd love to meet for coffee. You may not want to meet for coffee with every single person. That's okay. People are going to respect you more for your honesty than if you just say, we'll meet for coffee and we'll form a relationship and we'll be best buddies. You're not going to be best buddies with every single person. So what you want to do is make sure it's clear. Secondly, you want to end the conversation. Now, some people have a lot of trouble ending a conversation. It's hard enough to start a conversation. How do you stop it? I will show you something. This one guy actually, I saw this. There was like 5 people talking, right? And he was trying to lead the conversation. Someone's yapping, can't get away, right? And he was doing this. He's like, you're nodding. And then he did this. power words. Excuse me, sorry to interrupt. I'm sorry, I have to get going. I really want to move around. People, it's really nice to meet you. Use your power words. It's totally fine. But you got to keep moving. You don't want to spend an hour with that one person. I don't care how good looking they are. Okay? You're at a networking meeting, and we're very good looking up here, so I understand that. But you want to keep moving. If it's an hour event, make a goal. How many people do you want to meet in 1 hour? 2, 3, 5, 10? Now that's it. You don't want to meet 100 in an hour because then you have you're only spending 30 seconds with each person. That's not good. But you want to spend 5, maybe 10 minutes with each person to try to get to know them and see if there's any opportunities. And remember, strategies are important, but you have to learn the tactics. Tactics are very, very key. And again, it's not just I want to meet you. It's I want you to meet me. Right? You definitely have a vested interest in meeting the people in this room. That's true. But you also want them to get to know who you are. So think about that. I want you to meet me. You are in a way selling yourself. You are sharing your personal brand. You're sharing who you are, what your hopes and dreams and values are. And some other stuff with power networking. Half the world is shy. Right? Now, how many people in this room think they're shy? Put their hand up. Yeah, they're too shy. Yeah, it's a terrible question because, if you're shy, why would I say anything? Extroverts? Yeah, hey, hello. That's me, okay. Now, if half the world are shy, that means that you can, suss them out. They're feeling the exact same thing you're feeling. So you know what? If you're shy, find the other shy person in the room. They will thank you for it. Because you know what it's like. You know what they're going through. Try to smile at people a little more. Smiling really helps, right? I mean, if you're outside the circle, like this. Like, do people want to really, even if you're by yourself having a drink, if you're smiling or you're engaging, people are going to want to actually engage with you. Everybody has their story. In other words, you can't go into a meeting with like 3 or 4 people, and there's that one person you want to network with, and then you ignore the other 2 people. That's rude. Every single person has their story. You should spend time getting to know who they are. People will actually appreciate that. And again, avoid the turnoffs. No monologues, don't drone on about yourself, don't interrupt people, and know when to stop probing. I was actually at a dinner event, and we were sitting around this table. There was like 8 of us. It was like an networking event. And this one young lady asked. She blurted out of nowhere, "Bobby, do you believe in God?" I was like, "Whoa, what?" My initial reaction was like, "Do you?" But I didn't say anything. I just it threw me off. I mean, I gave her my answer. Told her what I thought, no problem, but I wouldn't do that. Okay? And again, network anywhere, anytime with anyone. You have no idea how they are a bridge to somebody else. And again, you gotta want it. You gotta want to network with people. Let me give you another example of wanting this. I speak at events all the time. So I spoke at Impact Entrepreneurship Conference. So that's where I met Suresh. And this is basically a room of 500 entrepreneurs, business people who all want to build up their businesses and build up their brands. And so I said, here's the power of networking. Here's my business cards. Come get my business card. 500 people in the room. They're all like, this is a great speech. Bob. Oh, great stuff. How many people out of 500 got my business card? What do you think? 75. I'm a pretty good speaker, so it's good. No, I'm just kidding. I'm not that bad at speaking. So 75 people got my card. Of the 75, though, how many followed up? 12. Of the 12, how many maintained a relationship with me? 2. What percentage is that? Come on, athletes. What's the percentage?
0.4.
That's 99.6% of people who don't create that relationship. So if you get my card, you're top 20, 30%. That's great. If you follow up, you're in the top 5%. If you maintain a relationship with me, you are in the top 0.4% of people. Where do you want to be? You gotta want it. And if there's a huge crowd, you wait. If the person starts walking down the street, you go after them. I did that once. I'll give you another story. I was actually, I'm a chess nerd, and I was at a World Chess Festival, and Gary Kasparov, the world champion, I don't know if you know who he is, he was right there, signing autographs, so I went and I wanted an autograph, and waited a whole bunch of crowd here, and then he's kind of an obnoxious guy. He took off, and I ran after him, right? And there was like a crowd was running after him. He finally stopped, 100 feet later, signed autographs, and then he still ran up. He didn't get to me. He took off again. And then, there's like 4 or 5 of us who were left over, and then there's one guy, and I looked at each other, who kind of looked in the eye, go there. And we took off. And we followed him to his car in a parking garage. And he finally signed us up. You got a signature. You gotta want it. So now we're gonna try to practice a bit. Now I know the room is not ideal for practicing, so I think what I'm gonna do is, I had about 4 or 5 activities I was gonna do. I'm going to do just 2, and then I'm gonna require you to stay, you just have to stand where you are, and you're just meet with the people that are beside you, okay, or behind you, all right? So again, we're gonna try some tactics, and again, for every activity, make sure you introduce yourself and just try to have some fun with it. So let's start off with, and again, you're gonna have to network for the rest of your life, so it's practice now, practice often. So, let's start with the first activity, and which is, why don't you guys all stand up? Alright. So the person beside you, you're going to, okay, so, either a person beside you or a person behind you, you're going to do the elevator pitch. You're going to introduce yourself, and you're going to give them your 30-second elevator pitch, which is who you are, what you do, and then what about you is unique or beneficial or special. In other words, your personal brand. And I want you to share that in 30 seconds to a minute. Now, we won't move on and repeat. What you can do maybe is there's someone behind you haven't done that too. But do the person beside you and then try to find another person within the vicinity of your chairs. All right? Let's practice. Go. Hello. You're missing some amazing information. So again, with the elevator pitch, you need to sell yourself and practice. If you're uncomfortable now, you haven't practiced. If you're comfortable, then you're practicing, which is good. Okay. Another activity, this one's called questions only. It's actually an improv activity, but it works very well with this scenario. So now what you're going to do is, again, you can either pick the same person or maybe someone behind you or in front of you. And what you do is, I just want you to have a conversation with a strict question, answer question format. So, person 1 asks a question. Person 2 will then answer the question and then follow with a question. That's it. They will then answer the question, follow with another question. They will then answer, follow with, so there's question, answer, question, answer, question, answer, question, answer. That's it.
Well, what question?
All right? That's all you're going to do. You're just going to practice asking questions and answering questions. Don't end on the top. You don't have to go on the topic. No. So, for example, how are you? Excited. Isn't it great to be here? Definitely. Where are you from? Halifax. Have you ever been there? Once for a holiday. What do you like most about the East Coast? So I want you to practice questions only. All right? Okay, go ahead. Go ahead.
How are you?
questions only is an activity that's really focused on a skill set of networking, which is asking questions. And the reason we do questions is because questions move conversations forward and they gather information. And it's an incredible tool and skill for networking. Okay, so that's why I'm making you do that. You're wondering why am I making you do this? Because it's helping you build your skill set for networking. Now, I don't have time to do the other one, but the other one I was going to do was called Pin My Friend. I'll explain how this one works. All right? This is a tactic that I invented. Okay? So let's get these three people standing up here. There are three people standing up here. Let me explain how this works. No, that's fine. So let's pretend she's the one I really want to talk to, but she's surrounded by these dudes, and I'm like, oh, come on, I want to talk to these guys. So what do? Well, I join the conversation, and then I listen. And what I do is I'm actually listening to the conversation of all three of them. And what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to promote the other guys as well. I'm going to say, you know what? That's a fantastic point, Mr. Rich. I love what you said about that because of blah, blah, blah. It reminds me of something I'm doing, which is something like this. And then I'll do the same thing for him. And what's interesting is, he's like, wow, Bobby is promoting you. That's in front of the people I'm trying to impress. That's very nice. And he's like, oh, Bobby's promoting me in front of the people I'm trying to impress. And she's like, wow, he's a very nice guy. He's promoting these other guys. And next thing you know, all three of them want to talk to me. It's a great tactic. Have a seat. So, that's my Pin My Friend strategy. Again, promoting one another is win-win-win. It's not a competition. Help each other out. Networking is about giving and sharing. Okay? Because here's the other thing. I want to meet with her, and then maybe his brother has a company that I want to work for. I don't know. Every person's a bridge to someone else. I have no idea. The other activity I was going to do was conversation killers. This is an activity on trying to say the wrong thing. So, for example, how are you today? Terrible. My pet parakeet died when I sat on it. So, where are you from? Not sure. I was found in a mall wrapped in bearskin, so maybe I was raised by wolves. See, what do you look for a top employer? Because of my background in politics and my fundamentalist religious views, I need to take 80 days off per year, preferably paid. So, and the whole idea is that when you exercise saying the wrong thing, it's actually not that hard to do. And so the takeaway is we obviously know what not to say, so therefore why not learn what is right to say? That's a plan. I want to talk briefly about networking strategy online. So again, I'm everywhere online, and what I'll say right now from an online perspective, I think some of my colleagues will talk more about that in more detail, but you need to be on LinkedIn and Facebook. Why? Because that's where the conversations are, that's where people are connecting and creating networking relationships. When you think about the coolest, most influential people that you want to network with, and you think about the coolest companies and that are doing some great stuff, innovative stuff, you think about where they are. Are they on MySpace? No. Are they on Friendster? No. Are they on Facebook and LinkedIn? Yes, they are. So you need to be there too. Nice to be there on Twitter. Again, not everyone's there, but you know what? Why not be ahead of the game and join it? If you know how to use Twitter, and in particular, if you know how to use Hootsuite, you can use Facebook, LinkedIn, and Twitter all at the same time using Hootsuite, which is fantastic. And then G+, it's still untested. I'm there. I haven't seen that much activity, but we'll see what happens. But again, there's a lot out there, and you need to spend your time wisely. You can't do every single thing. So pick the top 3 to 5 that you want to spend time on, or use tools like Hootsuite to manage your time more effectively. In LinkedIn, some key tips here: set up a solid profile, detailed, achievement-oriented. Generate new connections soon after meeting someone. When I go to an event, I link in with them within a week, usually a couple of days, or even the day after. So link in right away. Make sure you save your LinkedIn before you actually do that. If not, it's okay. You can still do it. Make sure you introduce them with an actual, statement. I met you at this event. I liked it LinkedIn. Don't just say, some Joe Blow indicated you as a friend. Okay, that's great. I have no idea what you're talking about. Okay, so be clear about that. Use introductions. Introductions is a tool on LinkedIn where you can actually refer people and introduce them to people they don't know through the connections, whether it's a second or third degree relationship. A great tool. Join and participate in groups and then connect with people. And then ask for advice, because there's a ton of people out there that will actually answer your questions and give you advice. It's a great place to learn how to network as well as network. And again, be professional by respecting the process and tools. Because some people use LinkedIn for different reasons, others use it for other reasons, so make sure you respect that. And then for Facebook, you need to update your status. If you're on there, you can't just let your status sit there for like 3 months. Update your status daily, weekly, whenever you're on Facebook, try to update it at least once. Share valuable information. Don't talk about the breakfast you had. Okay? Just have eggs. That's great. Why not share an article or a video or something interesting that you really want talk about. That's actually the way to do it. Generate connections again after meeting people. I use Facebook for people that I've met personally. I use LinkedIn for professional people anywhere that I've met. So I've created that rule. You create your own rules. That's fine. Whatever you want to do, that's fine. And again, interact with people. Don't just like stuff. Comment on it. Share things. And then know the balance and overlap of professional versus personal. And again, personal relationships can lead to professional ones. Okay. So now, the last thing I want to talk about is just briefly. I want to talk about branding. I'm a big fan of personal branding. And a brand is a living entity, 1,000 small gestures. Every single thing you do is a brand. Right now, you're creating a brand for myself and for everybody else. If you're nodding like this, or falling asleep because I'm so boring, then people behind you are like, wow, he's nodding, so you're creating a brand. Or you're creating a brand for me that, you know what, I guess this person doesn't seem to be interested in what I have to say. I'm not saying anyone is, everyone seems to be pretty alert, which is great. But I mean, you are creating a brand. If you're that person sitting in the corner while everyone else is talking, you're creating a brand. If you come up to me and ask me great questions, you're creating a brand. If you ask me really inappropriate questions, you're creating a brand. And from my perspective, a brand is a promise to deliver some sort of expectation or unmet need. It's a collection of your experiences with a name, a logo, or a symbol. It's what you remember. Think of this. Think of Tim Hortons. When you think of Tim Hortons, what do you think of? Coffee. What else do you think of?
Fresh.
Fresh. What else?
Canadian.
What's that?
Canadian.
Canadian. Okay, great. Anything else?
Good.
Hockey. Why hockey? I know, but yet, so you're not even a sports fan, you thought of hockey. I mean, one of the things that Tim Hortons came up with their brand was the experience aspect. Tim Hortons is the place where you start your day. It's the place you go before you do whatever you're doing, whether it's going to work or going to hockey practice. It's a place you go to study for exams late at night with your friends. Or maybe decide to play a midnight game of cards with your buddies and you get grab a couple copies of a box of Timbits. And so they created commercials that were specifically catered to this. There was a Sidney Crosby commercial, getting 4 copies in like 5 o'clock in the morning and going out to the rink with his buddies. That's what it was all about. And then the ideal scenario used to be that the brand was a product, Kleenex. I call it tissue paper, I call it Kleenex, right? Right, everyone does that. And in the beginning, we used to, instead of photocopies, you had Xeroxing this thing. Or I'll have a Coke as opposed to a Pepsi or some other soft drink. And it used to be the ideal scenario, but now it's bad because if Kleenex only means tissue paper to you, it doesn't mean anything else. So when Kleenex tries to launch the paper towel, we're like, what is that? It doesn't make sense to me. So you gotta watch out for that. But again, remember this, a brand is a promise. Brand is a promise. Now, benefits of a brand: recognition, trust, loyalty, market share, relationship. You're essentially creating a relationship that increases dollars for the company, but it also increases happiness. When I go to Tim Hortons and I get my apple fritter, or my chocolate dip, I'm happy, right? I'm creating happiness. Now, when you think of those benefits of a brand, they also refer to people. When you think about it, except for maybe market share. But market share could be, your brand awareness on the net, right? Number of LinkedIn contacts. But all these aspects are part of your own personal brand too. And remember, a relationship with a brand can be profitable, whether it's money or whether it's happiness. And when I worked at Dove for the campaign Feel Beauty, one of the things we found out was that only 2% of women in the world would consider themselves beautiful. And because of that, we decided to start the campaign Feel Beauty, where we foster positive self-esteem in young women, girls between the ages of 15 and 19. We do programs. I was the director of the Dove Self-Esteem Fund, delivering programming and resources and lots of materials for people to help with their programs. And what's interesting, my entire job was all about selling the idea. I wasn't even selling the product. There was people on other brands selling product. I wasn't selling just Dove Master Brand. I was selling the idea of real beauty. And it was an amazing experience. And what's interesting is that it connected with a lot of people. And it connected so well with people that Dove Insight led to incredible brand growth. In fact, it was double-digit growth. In fact, it wasn't just 12% double-digit, it was 20-30% double-digit growth for like 5 years. It was incredible. So if a corporate brand is a promise delivered to customers or consumers, then a personal brand is a promise delivered to everyone you come in contact with. So it's not just one brand, it's multiple brands. So the question is, what do you promise to bring? Right? I talked to one gentleman already, and he said that my personal brand is I love to meet with people, and that's a great one. but I think a lot of people might say that, right? What is unique and special about you? Like, what do you promise? What do your friends expect from you? My personal brand is I am a super personality kind of guy. I'm always going to be very, very personable. The other one is I'm always going to be very authentically honest and sometimes brutally honest. You want my honest opinion? I will tell you exactly what I think. It gets me in trouble with my wife, but that's okay. That's okay. So that's what I deliver. That's what I promise to bring. So think about what you promise to bring. So some final takeaways. Again, for networking, preparation, you need to develop a plan, join organization, practice wherever you can. Focus on the needs, not the position. Right? If I want to work in the movie industry, and there's Bill Gates, and there's Bill Clinton, and there's the executive admin to the VP of Paramount Pictures, who am I going to talk to? I'm going to talk to her. Right? In fact, the executive assistants admins are gatekeepers. Wherever you go in your life, whether it's as an entrepreneur or in your career work, you need to be really, really nice to admin people because they are amazing. Again, the approach, use body language, eye contact, as well as your power words. Hi, excuse me, sorry to interrupt, pardon me. Make others look good and make people feel good about you. Force yourself to keep circulating. And then seal the deal. Be prepared to listen to every single person because they all have their story. You need to give as well as receive. And ask them for one thing at a time. Some people ask me for a copy of my resume, and then advice of their resume, and then they want me for copy, and then they also want some advice, and oh, slow down, right? Ask for one or two things, one thing at a time. And then follow up. Following up is critical to networking. If you don't follow up, networking becomes useless. Take notes, keep files, give thanks, and then follow up on those leads. Try to make the most out of limited time when you network. So if a brand is delivering a promise, a personal brand is a promise that you deliver. In terms of power of networking, it's a driving force behind your personal and professional growth. Your career and entrepreneur growth needs it, and you need to have remarkable communication, passion, and personal branding. And if you do that, you will, along with the fact that, you know what, you gotta want it. You gotta want to network, you gotta want to follow up, you gotta want to make an impact. If you do that, you will be able to take your careers and your businesses to a much higher level in a much quicker way. Thank you very much for your time. Any questions? Yes.
I had a question about the follow-up activity in networking.
Yeah.
Do you have any advice for that? How do you follow up with so many people which you meet every day?
Well, every single person that I meet, I always make an effort to follow them on LinkedIn or Facebook, depending on the relationship. And I usually tell them, hi, it was great to meet you. I'd love to follow up with you and maybe connect on LinkedIn. Now, if they say don't, well, okay, that's a different story. But usually they'll say sure, or they'll tell you what their preference is. They'll either say, here's my email, here's my phone number, or some people just say, look me up. Some people have said that. If that's the case, then look them up. You gotta want it.
So, once you have added them on LinkedIn, you're not going to meet them or talk to them every day.
No.
I mean, suppose after a month or 2 months time, you have some work in that particular company. So how do you approach them after 2 months?
Well, first off, once you connect with them on LinkedIn, first off, you should have some sort of follow-up message to thank them for having met them and all that kind of stuff. Remember that LinkedIn and Facebook, a lot of people have this perception that it's about maintaining friendships and relationships. It's kind of that, but really the main focus is to have access to people. That's the main focus. So my connecting with my mom on Facebook is not because I can go visit my mom, but I have access to her photos and things that she's sharing. That's the whole idea. So again, set it in context. Be honest and tell them exactly why you're following up. We met 2 months about this thing. I was impressed by your XXX, and then you tell them what you want to do, and be honest. Now, some people are busy; they don't respond. Other people respond. You just have to keep trying. Yes.
I have two questions, please.
Okay.
One of them was, you mentioned it, when to stop probing, right?
Yeah.
And then you also said you went and pretty much stopped probing Kasparov, Gary Kasparov. So
Yeah.
there's a bit of a contradiction there. As in, on one hand, is that if you really want something, you gotta go get it, and that's, on the other hand, it might,
That's a great.
That's one question.
Well, let me answer that first.
Okay.
Because I'll forget. Right? So, for the first question, that's a great point. However, the key is context. The context was he was at this chess festival. He wasn't even participating, he was just there as a star. He was surrounded by people getting autographs. And so in the context of getting autographs, I wanted one too.
Right, but let's shift the context to something where it's the CEO of a company you really want to get it there.
Sure. So if they're at a networking event, you wait in line, you say, listen, I want to talk to you. And you wait in line and you follow them and ask them and say, excuse me. I mean, there's this, I mean, yeah, you're not gonna get in the car with them. But you know what? You just say, listen, can I have a moment of your time, please? Be polite, be persistent. And if they finally say, listen, I really need to get going, I'm sorry, I can't talk to you, then you know what, you have to respect that. Gary Kasparov didn't say anything, he just went, oh, and he took off. So you know what, I was like, no, I want it.
But you take it to a point where he actually has to say, excuse me, I've got other things to handle.
If they don't say no, I'm going to keep asking, yes.
Okay.
Sorry, you have a second question.
Second question, actually, all right.
Or we want to go first?
Yeah, okay, sure.
Okay, yes, please.
Regardless of the answer that Gary Kasparov gave you, the
Yeah.
fact of the matter is that it builds interesting stories.
Absolutely. And also builds interesting skill set and experiences for yourself. Good point. What's your second question?
Brutal honesty as, no, sorry. You mentioned something of honesty as brand, personal brand.
Yes.
Into that. Facebook is slowly morphing into a professional network from a friend network, right? Like, I mean, 2 years back, I could say whatever I wanted with the F words on Facebook. Now I can't anymore because more and more people on my
That's for Twitter now.
Yeah. Twitter is useless in my view. I mean, it doesn't do anything for me. But Facebook, the kind of things that I put up on Facebook in 2009,
Yeah.
I would never dream of putting it up today.
Yes.
Because, and
It
now I
evolves.
know you can kind of limit visibility and all that, but it's hard to manage that. So, do you take that gamble and actually put professional people on Facebook, trusting that they might agree with your political views, your outlook on life, blah, blah, blah? Or do you play it safe and just stick to LinkedIn, where professional content is?
I have very succinctly defined my relationship on Facebook, LinkedIn, and Twitter. Facebook, my personal profile is for people that I know personally and are part of my personal network that I know. I now have a fan page though, which is for anybody. So if people want to connect with me on Facebook, because there's some people aren't on LinkedIn and aren't on Twitter, they want to connect with me, I say, you know what, join my Facebook fan page. That's one. LinkedIn is basically professional network, which is basically for any single person who wants to network with me professionally. Whether it's someone in the audience that I met or someone who I don't know but knows me through someone else or through one of the groups that wants to network, I allow that. That's fine. Twitter, I let anybody follow me. So that's how I've defined it for myself. That said, how I present myself on my Facebook personal profile page, I'll say whatever I want because that's my personal page. And then set up my security so that no one else can touch it except me and my friends. Whereas on my fan page, that's me and my corporate brand, so therefore I have to be a little more careful what I say and what I do.
Right.
And Twitter, LinkedIn and Twitter, also LinkedIn, I'm very professional, and Twitter I've also defined it as something else. I'll actually share what I want. So I'm not gonna, I'm not gonna be swearing, but I do share political stuff. I do share entertainment stuff that I'm passionate about. And one person, got upset with me, said that, you're Mr. Connection, and yet you're talking about politics, which I disagree with. And then what did I do? I created a blog post of how to talk about things politically without offending anybody. And
So
then I
there
shared
is
that
a
blog
risk you
post.
run. There
What's
is
that?
a risk you run.
There's always a risk. There's always a risk.
By having
right?
your
There's
professional
always a risk. But you know what? I was perfectly fine with it. And I defended it by sharing that blog post. So here, read this blog post. This is my position. And here's what I think. And I did it in a very nice way. And I think it's fine.
So there is a risk, and then there is a way to handle the risk as well.
There's always a way to handle the risk. Right?
Okay,
Risk
thanks.
management is how you handle that stuff.
Okay, cheers.
How much more time do I have? Can I keep asking?
Yeah, please go.
All right, one more question.
Yeah, one thing you mentioned before was that there's two important things you do in life. There's you deal with people and presentations.
Well, there's also death and taxes too.
Oh, yeah, that's in terms of dealing with presentations, what are some things that you do to kind of improve your presentation skills? Whether it's just to talk in the mirror, or do you just kind of do it again and again and get better over time?
Well, I mean, the best way to presentation skills is a whole other ballgame, and I do workshops on that too. But I mean, the general rule for presentation skills is to know your stuff, organize your stuff, and rehearse your stuff. Right? Know it really well. Be the expert in the room. Rehearse like crazy. Organize in a way that's clear, concise, and convincing. That's how I try to do my slides. That's how I try to do everything that I do. So to me, that's really the way to build up that confidence if you're not a big speaker. And the second thing is to practice all the time and get involved in present whenever you can, present for free, present for, I'll volunteer to present stuff. You know, that's how I did it. I didn't take any formal courses. I mean, I believe we learn in 3 ways. We learn through academic, intellectual, you know, reading and courses. We learn through experience by doing stuff. And the third way, which is the way I also like to do it, is I like to learn by conversation. So I talk to people all around the country and I get information from them and I remember because I have a great memory. And they share that insight with me. So for me, and I also learn by doing. I'm a big doer and, you know, an experienced guy. And from that I learn.
So no rehearsal practice or no.
Yeah, organize your stuff, know your stuff, and rehearse your stuff. Okay? Sure. Yes.
Sunny?
Yeah,
So I
sure.
was also just gonna ask you, to his question, or not ask you, just, I have a comment.
Yeah.
There's, something called the Bay Street Breakfast, every Wednesday at 7:30 a.m. they have this Toastmasters
Yeah, yeah.
meeting. So it's a great way to kind of get your presentation skills up. You can go and make presentations with people and network with other people who are trying to better their presentation skills. So that's every Wednesday at 7:30 a.m. It's at 44 King West.
There's tons of them. I mean, there's tons of breakfast networking meetings. There's Toastmasters. You could even take an improv course at Bad Dog Theater or Second City, right? There's also free drop-in workshops for those all the time. So you can totally do that, yes.
I wonder the distinction between a presentation and a delivery. Presentation versus your slides are your presentation, but what's important is rehearsing your delivery. The slides are support for your delivery.
Right. No, I agree. So when I say rehearse, I'm saying rehearsing. You're rehearsing you're rehearsing everything. You're rehearsing the transition of slides. You're rehearsing your presentation, your delivery. You're rehearsing everything. To me, the presentation is the umbrella, and everything feeds from that. So presentation has you speaking, the slides, interaction with the audience, answering questions. It's all part of that presentation. That's why.
I will now use the power word, excuse me.
Oh, sorry.
Something I learned just now, besides, of course, the inevitability of meeting people, although you have to pay taxes and you do that. There are people who don't pay taxes on them. And of course, I must thank Bobby for engaging the audience and bringing the room live with those exercises. We've never seen such a thing before here, and I do find huge participation. A round of applause for Bobby.